In the spine, I came with the fellas. Ray Mac got hit in the back of his melon. And if I throw a bullet, I bet she catch like Beckham. I told Roby, how about the feet? And send him a message.
Now, after 5 minutes of deliberating whether I should enter the gym or not, I started stretching. I had to stretch my chest, my triceps, and I like to just warm up my joints, such as my shoulders and my elbows. Now, after that, something low-key unexpected happened when I was kind of talking about entering the gym, and I met this guy here.
I mean, actually really care. No, thank you, bro.
I hope you go far. You sound positive.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. We're gonna be hitting bench.
Now we go into gym. We just do a little bit of a warm up, just the bar, just to get myself used to how it feels. I recommend you guys warm up before your sets, just because if you just slap on like 80 kg, you're more prone to an injury. Actually, your muscles on joints are gonna be a bit like, whoa, what just happened if you just try bench 100 out of nowhere? So that's why we do that.
Next, we're gonna tap on some 15.
Now, the bench press is one of the fundamental exercises for building your chest and your triceps. And with the bench press, you don't want your grip to be too wide, and you also don't want it to be too narrow. You want a nice neutral grip, because if the grip is too wide, you're kind of limiting the amount of tricep functionality in the exercise. And if it's too close, then you're kind of just going to be struggling with the exercises, and you're not really going to be able to do as much weight as you want to. Like if your hands are next to you can barely probably even bench the bar. But that's just my experience with it. Now, I normally bench 50 kg for my reps, and this is after around 2, maybe 3 years of experience.
50s. Then we're gonna switch to 60, and we're just doing everything to failure, by the way. And benchmark is everything to failure. Like, a number is a good point, and you've seen my previous videos, to like know what you're doing. But I feel like when you go to failure, that's what your body is telling you. Let's go for the set target. Let's try to 10, because I haven't hit bench in a while. I said last week I was doing more dumbbell bench than bench. But we go see. There's only one of these.
And the thing is with this gym, I used to be benching around 60 kg. And one time I went to another gym and I was benching around 70 kg. And this is just for reps. So it really depends. I think some weights in some places are a scam or something, because something is definitely wrong if I'm doing a 20 kg difference and it's feeling the same.
Guys, if you're feeling scared to do something, do it, bro. Do it. You need to conquer that fear, I'm telling you. Let me give you guys a few tips for dumbbell press. So pretend you're like this, and then you want to come like this. You want to cut right underneath your chest and push up. Try not to be flaring your elbows as well. Try to keep them nice and tucked into like this. That way you get the most chest and tricep activation. Because you come to a dumbbell press for what? For triceps and for chest. If you do flared, you're kind of targeting shoulders. So what are you doing?
Now, try not to look at my face too much here. But next we're going to be doing incline dumbbell press. I know from this angle it doesn't seem that the bench is at an incline, but I normally like to set the incline to 15 degrees or 30 degrees. And a thing I should have said for the bench press is that I like to do every set till failure. That's why you see my face making some next faces. So this ranges from about 10 reps to probably around the 13 rep range. That's where I'm thinking about using my muscles, where I'm pushing myself. The first 9 reps are probably not that significant. It's those kind of reps where you're oh my god, and you feel that nice juicy burn in your chest afterwards you just finished that set. Try to make sure your elbows are at a 45-degree angle. You don't want them to be parallel to your body, and you also don't want them to be perpendicular. The reason I'm doing 18 kg for dumbbell press is not because I'm a new go out. It's because I've actually never been doing dumbbell press before, and I just recently started doing it now. So I did start from 80 kg and we're going to build ourselves up, because I realized that just doing one exercise in general is going to be really bad for you in the long run, and you want to switch up every few weeks. I'll get more into that later in the video. But switching up the exercises you do, maybe every few months, really good, because your bodies are going to adjust to the exercise. You're just not going to see as much hypertrophy as you want to. Now the next exercise I'm doing is going to be the dip. My personal best exercise, hands down, I can't lie, and I normally do these for about 10 reps. If the 10 reps are feeling a bit too easy or from repping out for more than 15 at one go, then I slap in probably about a 10 kg or 15 kg weight, and I use a belt I borrowed from my friend because the dips are harder to do. Now, using a belt with dips does kind of decrease your stability as the weight kind of like rocks around, but once you get used to it, it becomes easier. Now, moving on from dips, you have skull crushers, and with skull crushers you can either do them with dumbbells or you can do them with an easy bar, which looks a bit like this. Now, if you use an easy bar, there is going to be more stress on your wrists, and if you use a dumbbell, there's going to be more stress on your elbows. And I feel like I just started recently doing this exercise in conjunction with the exercise I said before, and it's really good. It's really good. The first few times I did the exercise, I just thought I had like a more soreness the day after and a nice juicier pump after I finished the exercise. So I would recommend doing this exercise if you don't do it currently. But I feel it's getting to a point where I'm doing skull crushes and it's just my elbow that's been a limiting factor for this exercise, and it's kind of limiting how many reps I can do, which is lowering the stimulus to fatigue ratio, and I'll talk a bit more about the stimulus to fatigue ratio later in the video. Now, when doing skull crushes, instead of angling your arms like this, you want to angle them like this, just because you get a greater tricep activation with this angle. Arnold press, military press, and shoulder press. And now of all of these three, I would rank Arnold press number 1, military press number 2, and shoulder press number 3, just because the Arnold press targets the 3 main muscles in the shoulders, and I feel this will lead to greater hypertrophy in them. Now, with military press and shoulder press, there is a slight benefit to each one of them. Military press has a greater emphasis on strict form, and since this is standing up, and it means you have to have a more stable shoulder. So if your shoulders are a little bit, not that stable, I would suggest you stick more to the seated dumbbell press. And the seated dumbbell press is a slightly easier variation of the military press, just because it uses less core stability as well. Since you're standing up, you're putting weight above your head, it's going to use more muscles in your body. After my presses, I like to move on to some lateral raises. Now, lateral raises, you kind of want it between 45 and 90 degrees. If your arms are fully straightened out, you're going to be having a lot of joint pain, and you're going to find that you can't get past 4 kg. So, and if you have it at 45 degrees, you just aren't going to be targeting the muscles needed. So I think about maybe 60 degrees. You guys probably won't go this specific, but just have a nice feeling of what feels comfortable to you when doing this exercise. Your boy has to practice his calisthenics for the guys that don't know how to pronounce it, because I've met a lot that don't. And before you do any calisthenics training, you always want to make sure that you're warming up. Over here, I'm warming up my wrists, elbows, shoulders, and everything, just because you do not want to be getting injured, as it will just take longer for you to master the skill. Now, after kicking this up a few times and maybe a few pike push-ups just to gain more strength from my shoulders, so then this exercise will be easier, I went home and it was day 2, back, biceps, and forearms. Now, typically, I like to start off my back, biceps, and forearms day with muscle ups. I got my calisthenics in before your workout. Yesterday, I did forget to do this, but doing the calisthenics when you have energy is the best, because it's going to be very hard to be trying to do pull-ups when you just done a full-on workout for back and biceps. I can tell you that for a fact. Now, with pull-ups, a lot of people think you just grab onto the bar and start repping them out as much as you can, but really the motion stops at the bottom with a scapular retraction. This is where you contract your shoulder blades together, and a good way to train this is to practice dead hangs and pulling yourself upwards without using your arms and only contracting your shoulder blades. Now, to maximize your pull-ups, you really just want to increase your time under tension, as this is where you will see the most results. Okay, next we move on to some pull downs. Now, there's different variations of this machine at different gyms. They recently changed my gym and now they made it into this, and I just like doing this exercise because it feels right for me. After that, I move on to some lat pull downs. Pretty basic exercises here, not much explanation is needed, But with the lat pull down, I do see some people like not leaning and leaning too far backwards. Just make sure to pull the bar to your chest and try to visualize you bending the bar inwards and really trying to like drive your elbows down. Try pull with your elbows and not your shoulders. Now moving on to curls, there are 3 main curls I like to do. There's your Ottoman curls, there's your hammer curls, and there's also your regular curls. Now personally, if I had to rank them, Ottoman curls are on top once again, just because it helps improve the forearm and grip strength. And as I said, my forearms aren't the best, so it's really good if I wanted to improve my forearms. And there is an enhanced eccentric overload on the forearms during the movement. So when you're bringing the weights back to the rest position, your forearms are going to be used majorly. And this is really good. And if you guys don't know what the word eccentric means, it basically means when you're returning to the start position, where your concentric is where where the contraction is actually happening. And because of my type of build, my forearms are actually quite small, along with my calves as well. So on pull days, people normally say back and biceps. I say back, biceps and forearms, because I need to have larger emphasis on my forearms if I want them to grow, and maybe less emphasis on my back. So just know that when you're scheduling your own workouts, do what suits you. Now, second in position, we have hammer curls, and personally I like hammer curls just because it strengthens your grip, once again using your forearms. It improves your wrist stability and also boosts muscle endurance. Now, these benefits are increased just because of the rotation in the wrist when you're doing this exercise. And once again, we do these exercises till failure. And another quick tip is to actually sit down doing your curl seated, just because it eliminates lower body momentum and enforces strict form. Because I see a lot of guys doing these curls standing up and just swinging with the weight, not really getting that concentric motion. But if you want to do it standing, you're using your muscle contraction and not the momentum of your lower body.
Cool. You know, you can either grip like this with your thumb underneath, or you can grip on top. I feel when you're gripping on top, you're using more of your forearms. Just because that's what I feel. So if you want to do your grip like that, go ahead. I feel like I feel it more on my forearms that way, but it also depends on you and what you like.
And then after my curls, I like to do my seated rows. Now, if you guys can see in this video here, you can kind of see the grip extension that I like to use. It's kind of like a close grip one, because I kind of get more contraction on my upper back rather than my lats, which are really overdeveloped at this point in time. And at the end of your movement, you kind of want to lean forwards just a bit, just to get that extra stretch in your back, so then you can contract it with a greater distance again. Now on day 3, we now have legs. I have a whole day dedicated to legs, and I only do legs once a week, just because when I hit legs, I hit them hard and I barely cannot walk the next day. So the first exercise that we do is the high bar squats, and with these squats I normally do about 60 kg with about 10 reps each. Depending on how I feel, sometimes I might bump it up to 65, maybe 70, and I do this for about 3-4 sets till failure again. Really hard to go till failure with squats as well, just because with squats I feel like it takes something out of you that other exercises just don't. Like every time you go down and then use that energy to get back up, it just feels like, I don't know, like 1,000 calories just exited your body just in that motion right there, which I also think is a really good exercise. And with high bar barbell squats, a way to make the exercise easier is to put a plate probably a few centimeters thick below your heels. This just increases the stability and makes the exercise easier overall, as it makes your back more vertical and makes it so then your form is more strict. And once you get comfortable with the squat, you can then remove the plates again, and it kind of prevents you leaning forward with the squat, which can really injure your lower back. And moving on from the squats, we then have the hack squat. And with this machine, different feet placements mean different muscle groups in your legs are going to be targeted. And you can see this with the photo that I'm going to show on screen now. As you can see, to target your glutes and your hamstrings, they're going to be further up. And to target your overall quads, is going to be on the bottom. And me, as a man personally, I want my quads to be nice, big and juicy. So we're going to put them lower on the board. And if you want your outer quads to grow, mid-board and close together, and if you move them more apart, you will target your inner quads. On from hack squats, we then have the seated calf raises. Now, and the guy I know did say that in this exercise is not the greatest, as your calf is kind of cramped up in one position only, and it'll be better to do them standing. But from my experience, standing just isn't really suited for me personally, as I just don't feel that burn, and if the weight is too high, I just can't get the weight up off the floor. Now, moving on to the next two exercises, which kind of come as a pair, we have leg extensions and leg curls. Now, I don't actually do all these leg exercises in one day. Maybe if I was doing an extended session, I would do them. But on days where maybe I'm a bit in a rush and I kind of just need to hit that muscle group, I will hit leg extension and the leg curls, just because I feel they are easier exercises and still build hypertrophy inside your legs in regards to your squats and your hack squats. And if you're an athlete, I highly recommend that you do plyometrics, just because this kind of increases your explosiveness, i.e. your power output in the muscles, and you can just increase faster speeds in general, and your agility, which is your ability to change directions quickly. And if you're an athlete, I highly recommend you do these exercises. So if you're doing swimming, basketball, football, athletics, or anything in that sort of category, you need to be doing these exercises. Now, on day 4, I like to do cardio and stretching. With cardio, I like to do maybe treadmill, which I was feeling on this day. There's also swimming, basketball, football, amongst other sports that I do variously during the week, which I just find really good. And if you guys can find a way to do cardio which you enjoy, that's going to make you more inclined to do it more often, making you meet your gym goals.
Now, following on from our 4-day gym and calisthenics workout, I'm now going to be giving you some really valuable tips and information that could really accelerate your progress. Now, first of all, I'm going to be talking about how often you should be changing your workouts. Now, from the moment you start, that is where you should be doing the most research. So between the 6 to 12 week mark, that's how long you should have for that certain workout. So let's say you're doing a 3-day full body split. You're going to do that workout at 6 to 12 weeks, because if you start changing up too early, your body's just not going to be able to adjust. So if you give yourself the 12 weeks, you're going to let your body adjust, and your body's going to be, alright, cool, we got this. Now I can move on to something more complex, maybe a 4-day split or a 5-day split. Okay, next, now with each exercise, you also want to maximize your time under tension. And this is where your muscle fibers are actually going to be ripping apart. And when your muscle fibers rip apart and they join together bigger. Okay, now with all of these exercises that I've mentioned throughout the video, you want to be maximizing the time under tension. Now, the time under tension is how much time they actually doing the exercise for, where the contraction, the concentric, and when you're the relaxation, your eccentric is actually happening. Now, if you maximize these, then your muscle fibers are going to be ripping more, meaning that when they bond, they're going to be bigger, leading to bigger muscles. And now I'm going to be talking to you about something called the stimulus to fatigue ratio. An example of what a stimulus is how well does this exercise work for you. For example, pull-ups are a really good exercise for me. Whenever I do pull-ups, I just feel great doing them. My back feels awesome. Sore the day afterwards, meaning that I really worked it well. In addition to that, I'm also seeing lots of progress throughout my back. But an example of what fatigue is do your joints so when doing this exercise. For example, if you're doing skull crushes for a prolonged period of time, your elbows are going to be feeling sore. And if you're doing handstands for a long time, your wrists are also going to start feeling sore. And then those wrists, your elbows, those joints are then going to be a limiting factor for you to be reaching more reps, which could obviously build more muscle. And following on from this, we're going to talk about something called RIR, which is reps in reserve. Now, when you're doing your set, as I've said multiple times, I like to do it till failure. And when you're doing it till failure, there's also something called doing reps in reserve, which means how many more reps do you think you had in you? Now, for the first set of every exercise, I normally leave about 3 reps in reserve. This means that if I just complete that set, I probably had about 3 more reps in me.
So if I leave those 3 reps, it means that I will now have more energy to complete the other sets as well. And then that last set I'm doing, bro, if you put a gun to my head and told my family was I'd be like, bro, I can't lie, send it to heaven please, because I would be done. I'll just be done. Okay, and this is for all you guys who just want to start training, start banging gym every single day. Don't do that. You're not a robot. It's just not gonna work. And for you to actually maximize your potential, you also need to be using your rest days usefully. That means that you won't be just hitting biceps 6 days a week because you want bigger arms. Doesn't make sense, does it? As I said, you wreck your muscles in the gym, you build them at home during rest and when you have your protein. And just to wrap a few things up, make sure, number 1, to switch your workouts up every few months, maybe every 3 or 4 months. Number 2, to keep the time under tension high. You really want to be maximizing your time in the gym and not just be making that a waste of time. Number 3, you want to keep that stimulus to fatigue ratio high as well. You want to make sure that you're also maximizing that, making sure that when you're doing that exercise, you're not fatiguing and making that fatigue a limiting factor for the exercise. Number 4, remember not to train every single day and to use your rest days properly. Meaning that if you went to the gym and you just train biceps, you're not training biceps the day afterwards, and make sure you're splitting your workout judiciously. And number 5 is all about preferences. Do the exercise which suits you and which you see a benefit to. Don't just do what a guy on TikTok says. He said, oh, the best exercise to build muscle mass. And if you do the exercise, it doesn't work for you. So what? Do what works for you. And all in all, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.